Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Sato with Ocean Research Institute of University of Tokyo. This is the theme which I would like to discuss before you today. In researching wild animals, direct observation is a very basic method we all employ. However, aquatic animals like the one you see in front of you are very difficult to observe with our eyes when they submerge underwater. They are beyond the reach of our visibility. One of the ways to make the invisible visible is the biologger, which we have been using for our studies. The very first animal I'd like to share with you today is streaked shearwaters. About 30 years ago in Kanmurujima Island of Kyoto, this bird was studied and the research findings were published in the form of such a book. Internationally, Attenborough used movies and books on this species. And this book shows that this bird is a tree climber, and as a result, many people began to believe mistakenly that this bird had to climb a tree to take off, but that is not the case, though it was aired on NHK program. And it was mentioned that it had to climb up a tree to do a takeoff, but as far as I have observed, 99% of the individuals are able to take off from the land surface. In certain cases, those birds are able to take off from the ground without any approach run. And so they do have the capability to have a takeoff without climbing trees. And so we could observe how they were able to achieve the takeoff. But after the takeoff, we were not able to observe what were the specific flight behaviors. So I decided to attach such accelerometer at the abdomen of the tree to observe their flight behaviors. With a lot of samplings, we are able to get the time series data for acceleration. And also, we provided the wavelet transformation for further analysis. And we were able to get 10 different spectrums. What caught my attention is this. That is a 7.5 hertz wing flapping frequency they use for takeoff, and another is this lower frequency used during the flights. They had to use in order to sustain their flight. Sometimes they have to do a sporadic wing flappings, and around on that purpose they use this lower frequency. And also, this takeoff here means not only the land takeoff from the land, but also from the water surface. When they came down to the water surface for foraging, they had to take off from the water surface. But if this bird was too weak to have a direct takeoff from the land, this individual would never be able to take off from the water surface, but that is not really the case at all. So it has been all wrong that they were not able to have a direct takeoff without tree climbing. Now let me show you this, the big one, wandering albatross. Wild animal, the largest bird, 3 meter for wingspan and weighs 10 kilograms. And we got our acceleration data from a date logger, and we were able to get such a flapping frequency. On the horizontal axis, we take body mass. On the vertical axis, wing flapping frequency. 5 different bird species. I took 2 or 3 individuals for each species, and each species had 2 different frequencies. One is the lead one, the higher frequency, and those are the frequencies used for a takeoff for any species. And perhaps this higher frequency is limited by a muscle force of the individual. And the blue line or dots indicate the lower frequency used for the sporadic flapping. Those birds are good at the gliding, but actually they are not able to sustain their flight always through the gliding. So in order to sustain their flight, sometimes they have to do a sporadic flapping in order to sustain the enough speed for sustainable flight. And what is interesting are on the dotted lines. Two lines meet with each other at the point which indicates body mass 41 kilograms and wingspan 5 meters. This means this is the frequency required in order to sustain flight. But if the animal is bigger than this, then that animal or bird is not able to sustain or cannot fly. This gave rise to a very interesting discussion. This is a pterosaur which went extinct. And one of the species is called Quetzalcoatlus, the largest pterosaur, a 10-meter wingspan, and it is estimated that it had a 70 kilograms of body weight. And as you can notice, this means that this pterosaur was much bigger than the threshold value I showed earlier. So this couldn't perhaps fly at all under the current global environment. But suppose what were the environmental conditions which would allow the pterosaur like this to fly? One would be a different gravity. But at the moment, there is no phenomena or mechanism that will be able to considerably change the gravity acceleration than the one we have today. And another parameter which could be manipulated, air density. And it could be possible that air density was higher than the air density today back in those ancient days by several times. So if that was the case, then perhaps such a big bird was able to fly in the ancient climate. Of course, there is no conclusion I can draw on for this question right now, but from the work by Dr. Takahashi, who is going to speak right after me, captured such an image. That is the bird's eye view, a black-browed albatross's eye view over the scene, taken from a dead logger. And you can see this killer whale. And in the past, we were able to capture that those albatrosses' feces included remnants of deep-sea animals. And we were wondering how they were able to capture such a deep-water animals to feed on. And we were able to understand from this image that they were chasing after a killer whale and were able to feed on the leftover food like the deep-water animals from the killer whale. And this is work we did in collaboration with Dr. Takahashi of the National Polar Research Institute and Mr. Francis Dawn from Scotland, Edinburgh. And this is the data logger we used, and this is a European shag. This bird dives for foraging in a rocky habitat like this. It captures a butterfish like this and goes up to the water surface. Such a big butterfish, they do not swallow it down right away, but it captured the butterfish with the bill and then move up to the water surface. And this is a flatfish going up to the water surface after the shark caught the flatfish at the bottom of the water. And also sandy habitat is another habitat where they do the foraging. This bird is now poking the bill into the sandy floor, trying to capture something, but the image quality wasn't good enough back in those days, so we were not sure what it was trying to capture. But now the technology improved, and we were able to see that it was foraging on a lesser sand eels. So in sandy habitat, there was one more interesting we noticed. In a rocky habitat, individuals were foraging separately, but in sandy habitat, the several individuals were poking their bills into the sandy floor more or less together. So it may be the case that they can have a better foraging activities if they did it together in a group for sandy habitat. We also got the motion films. A team from National Geographic of the United States invented an underwater camera, and this is a bit big, so it could be employed only on a bigger animal like a turtle. And a turtle like this was placed upon the turtle, and I am now based in Iwate Prefecture, shown in the red spot. And this shows the nesting grounds of the turtles. And nesting grounds of the turtles are usually located in the southern part of Japan, but as a matter of fact, the turtles visit a northern part of Japan, like Iwate Prefecture, where I work and live right now. So we placed a data logger on the turtle, and this device could be disconnected from the turtle automatically, and then we can get the data and analyze. The turtle does a dive out several times, but at the same time it moves horizontally. This is the videotape captured from the video. This is how the turtle sees the underwater. This turtle just took a breath. It's true that the turtle have several dive bouts, but when it comes up to the water surface for taking a breath, for some reason he rotates. Perhaps the turtle does this kind of a rotation once it gets up to the surface of the water in order to take his bearings. Another footage, something very interesting take place. You will see something approaching. A turtle is moving toward this thing. What do you think this is? This is a jellyfish. And so the turtle moves straight forward to capture the jellyfish. And it swallows it down like this. The loggerhead turtle feeds on jellyfish, and that was a very interesting, important finding for the ecology of the turtles. When we studied the feces of such turtles, we found such many shoals of benthos, and from this, we thought that the loggerhead turtles tend to feed on benthos, but now we can see that they also eat jellyfish besides benthos. And also, this is a plastic cap of a detergent bottle. And it has been widely reported that those plastic bags were eaten by the turtles, and as a result, they were killed and their populations are declining. That is a widespread rumor and conventional wisdom. But see this film. Something is approaching once again. This may look like a jellyfish, but actually this is a vinyl bag from a supermarket store. And the turtle approaches to this straightforward. But it didn't eat it. We thought that it would eat it certainly, but it didn't. And so sometimes we do find the plastic bags or plastic bottles from the feces of the turtle, but the things perhaps it's not so simple that eating up the plastic bags or killing the turtle. The story perhaps is not that simple. What I'm trying to pursue is the environmental sciences through the lens of wildlife. Now the Earth, and 70% of the Earth is covered by ocean. Humankind use various techniques to do a research on the ocean, but what we can do directly to understand the marine environment is quite limited. Perhaps the aquatic animals know much more about the ocean than we do. So what I would like to pursue is the environmental sciences, especially to know more about the aquatic environment through the lens of wildlife. Environmental science is unique and different from other disciplines of natural sciences. In the case of conventional natural sciences, scientific discovery made by a scientist, but such findings usually are not so understandable by the citizens in general. But once such scientific findings were applied in the form of a new product or new policies that will benefit the general public, but usually the flow is one way from scientists to the general citizens. But for the field of environmental science, the thing is not like that. Usually, for environmental question, the scientists have to come up with the findings, and that need to be translated into a new product or new policies, even if the root causes for certain phenomena is not so clear. And what is beneficial for an environmental science is that the visual images are able to convey to the general public in a more easy to understand manner based upon the scientific findings. And I believe that that is the interesting feature of environmental sciences, where there should be more interaction between the scientists and the general citizens. And there was a academic film contest, and this was not able to get any prize, but I'd like to show you some film footage. This shows what are the kind of geographical regions we do our studies. This is a sub-Arctic region. This is a southern elephant seal from Iceland. Killer whale, we employed a data logger to elucidate the killer whale ecology, and this is in for a northern elephant eel, and this is for a European shag with the data logger on the abdomen and also on the back, and this is the river Ganges in Hawaii. Shark, hammerhead shark. And Japan in Iwate Prefecture. This is a mola or sunfish. And loggerhead turtle from Iwate Prefecture. The loggerhead turtles do visit the northern part of Japan, as this place is a good fishing ground. This is where I am usually. This is where our center is located. A lot of water tanks, and they are all filled with a loggerhead turtles and also green turtles. This is the loggerhead turtle. This is my lab and my students. Earlier, I mentioned that the turtle chose not to eat a vinyl bag, and this is an experiment we try to see on what conditions a turtle would try to eat a vinyl bag. But this turtle, in this particular condition, didn't show any interest in a vinyl bag. This is in Kobe port. We provided artificial flipper for a turtle who lost one of the flippers. Those are the cameras for accelerometers, and they are driven by batteries. This is a fishing boat with a set net. We got a cooperation from the fishermen, and we attached date loggers, and automatically the loggers are disconnected from the animals. Then we would collect them and connect the data logger to the personal computer for data downloading. And so the graduate students are happy because they were able to get good data. So this is me. Underwater, there are so many enigmas whose answers are waiting to be resolved. We are using high technology to know more about the ecology of the animals under the water. Let's go to the best journey in the world with the use of high-tech data loggers. This is a truck we were able to purchase with the fund from National Geographic. I am together with the turtles. We are going to release those turtles. We are always looking for the staff. The cellular phones are out of reach in our area. Very little reward, no assurance for a job opportunities, but when you are successful in a project, you can get intellectual reward, and that is the sales pitch I always use in order to get the talented young people. This is a map of our field work sites: fish, birds, mammals, all kinds. And we are thus trying to pursue the science of environment